All right, let me show you just a short video as a start, and I'll go with you through the website and some practical issues, well, not practical, but where I think there might be collaboration, especially with the CommunitySA framework. But I'll start with a video just as an introduction there.
Touching Africa was born from a network of like-minded individuals, operating as part of God's kingdom, being the body of Christ in action. Our dream is to contribute to sustainable growth and development in Africa, to ultimately realize the full potential and calling of Africa on a global scale. We provide a platform for the network service providers, linking project needs and funding solutions in order to bring change. We use a broad range of specialist services to identify opportunities and to develop and implement sustainable solutions in the following sectors: water supply, food security, housing solutions, educational programs, enterprise development, and social development. Now, Touching Africa invites you. Bring your time, expertise, resources, dreams and stories and partner with us in being the difference.
But I think that pretty much says it all, and I want to use the website as a backdrop of what we are. And I think to start off with is we're not a Stockholm base. I think the name Touching Africa could easily be misleading. It's not just a social enterprise, although it is to a very large extent a social enterprise. But it's on the one hand for profit, but it's got tools that are non-profit. But I'll get to that detail as we go on. We touched on the vision. It's unashamedly a kingdom vision, and we have to be the difference. There's a lot of projects going on throughout Africa, and there's about 600 plus network members that have joined initially very informally, voluntarily, but it slowly but surely then developed into an institutional arrangement. We've got a couple of projects, and I'll show you a couple of them now. On the website there's news and updates, but if we go to our history, then well, we touched on the fact that we are a network itself, and you can get the rest there. We've got operating principles. There's a lot of more detail that we can go into there, but the most important one is that we really first seek the kingdom of God. Now, it's not a church either, and we also believe that our words would be few, and that the proof would be in the testimony. So we don't always get it right, but that's definitely the name of the game, is not to just do the talking. Was born way back in 1987, 8, 9, when we started the business, Stephan Potgieter, as Jasper mentioned. Way back then, as developed from ages, from a geological consulting entity. And it developed into this network of people with a like-minded vision, which we then branded as Touching Africa. And got a core team that I'm not going to go into the detail of, but that runs the day-to-day activities of the the group. And the question is, what do we do? And that would be in the cooperatives. And I'll show you in the next. I've got a short presentation after the website, but how do these cooperatives all fit together? But we group the cooperatives in the different business sectors, and I'm going to show you one or two. For instance, in the agricultural services, there are projects that are currently running. It has been running over a period of time. The one would be the ABBA initiatives, and there's an Invest Rural Development, there's Emily Foundation, and these are just handpicked for display purposes. In each of them, there are a lot more. In the integrated development services, which I believe is more suitable to this discussion, there's the Congo Trans-Africa Water Project, also Invest Rural, Metsi Abatu, and the such. And then the rest, I'm not going to go into the detail, the enterprise development, training and education, corporate and business services, and the community and social. This may be more related to we talk about Touching Africa. These are hardcore. Barabakai is people that work hands-on with the people in the community. So we've got the direct social projects as well. You can see the list goes on. These are a very important component of what we do. But we also touch hardcore basic water and sanitation, hardcore agriculture, food security, and as such. These projects duplicates what we've got in the different cooperatives. So the question from maybe that how does it all fit together? And what I want to show you on the presentation here is we've got a couple of institutional tools that makes Touching Africa operatable in the marketplace. So we've got the Development Trust, we've got the non-profit company, there's an Africa Vision Foundation, there's a Goma Africa BEE company, there's a GIG Institute which we joined recently. So the gig on two levels, being on the institutional tools thereof, and we'll map out the details as the time goes on, but it's also a service to the network. So we joined Jasper and the bank with Touching Africa, really looking forward to this collaboration on that level. The cooperatives we talked about, this is really where we want to play together with the projects that we do. So we group them with people with those calling or interest, and that's where the magic has to happen. But they also integrate with each other. And if you look at this little sketch here, if you talk about Touching Africa, what is it? We've got the tools, we work through the cooperatives, and we implement projects. And the question is, who's doing it? It's the network. Because the network does it. Very often, the funders are also within the network, but very often also from outside. And but the idea is to really take hands and to do everything that we do according to the Touching Africa principles, which are based on the Kingdom principles, and making that difference. If you ask me we've got different sizes of projects and programs, and we are developing different solutions depending on every unique situation that there is. So if I look at this, we can use the train as someone with a program with its champion. For instance, in the agricultural sector, the Invest Rural agri side is someone there who sits with the jockey, with the champion that drives this thing. He's got funding, or he needs to get funding, but he needs to give solutions on each of these cooperatives. somehow. And then we use the projects within those cooperatives to really not reinvent the wheel, but very often just duplicate what is already working in different scenarios, wherever applicable. And wherever there's something that already works, we can integrate also into this train. So the idea is not to reinvent everything, but to really connect the dots and bring a holistic solution to the table. So some programs may just be one cart long, for instance, infrastructure, and then that's it. In others, it will be 2 or 3 or the whole bunch. Others is just one project within one of these carts, which is also fine. So it can really be tailored to the specific challenge or the need or the opportunity that there is. I think relevant to this discussion would be the infrastructure development solution cart. We still have it named as the integrated development services, but we realize the infrastructure is really playing the big part. So there's a couple of projects that we run into in this space. The list goes on. There's housing projects, and there's many of them still in incubation phase, but some of them already working. And I want to maybe just touch on something that came to my attention last week, as early as last week, that I realized based on my last discussions that we had with the CommunitySA platform, with the software and the app that has been developed. I think there's a place that these things dovetail to some extent. And it may be old news to you, but I think it's serious to consider this. And it's called the Small Town Regeneration Strategy and Implementation Plan. It's based on COCTA's initiative. Comes a long way. I think government realized at last that there are challenges and we need to fix it. And this really gives a platform to take hands with government, not take over, and not running a parallel system, but really just take hands and to work with them. So it's apparently what they call it. It's a very it's a sophisticated takeover, or a soft takeover of the municipalities. And I think it's easier in the small towns. The bigger cities may be a little bit of a challenge, but apparently it can also be done within wards in the bigger cities. The objectives of this program is to support the state and the non-state entities, then to enhance the financial viability of the municipalities, and to provide targeted support wherever that's needed. So that's the objectives. There's 4 steps to implement this. I think the most difficult one would be step 1, is to lay the groundwork and to get organized, to create a work plan, to spread the word. And that's where we currently are in many small towns. I mean, we know there's a problem, we need a solution. The Koster example failed to a very large extent. The reason being that apparently an organization like AfriForum can't come and interfere with this type of action from outside that local authority. So you need the community, that local community, to take hands with the local authority to make it work. And that's one of the reasons Costa is a bit of a challenge. So let's learn from that, but this is then doing what they say. Step 2, gather, share stories, identify what matters most. Step 3 is design and resolve, is to develop the options, and then step 4, to act. So unfortunately, there's no shortcut. And I think that's important to take note, because that's where we are. We have near dead towns at this stage, and we've got an expectation that we'll fix it by the end of the year, and we may not even get organized by the end of the year. Just touching on the 4 different steps in terms of laying the groundwork, what does it mean? Is you need a municipal task team to start with. It can be a small task team, but then you need to establish the community forum and the action group. And that's where the challenges are, is to get that forum. You then formalize the partnership with the local municipality, but with the mandate and the backing of these two forums or these two teams. And then you can partner with them. Then you've got the backing of Treasury, and COCTA and province also sits on the discussions, and the municipality has to buy into this, what they call the public-private community partnership. Now, we've tried the PPP in the past, which really didn't work, but it seems like this could be as a new flavor of the month, but it could be something that can work. And the step 2 is to explore the community. It's all things that are supposed to happen in any case during the normal municipal management processes, like your SDF and your IDPs and your housing sector plan. So it's really not reinventing the wheel, and it's not the idea, but it's taking hands with the municipality to do what they're supposed to do, but with the community itself playing an active role in the process, as it should be, and then move towards the solution. So you need to go through these processes. I'm not going to go into the detail there, and then you have to go through the whole planning process with Pluma, which is formal processes, and the idea is not to run a parallel system, but to use the normal systems and the processes that they are, and also the funding. So we don't have to get alternative funding from outside. Treasury is apparently behind this, and if you've got the right partnerships in place and you follow these processes, they're supposed to fit the bill. They need to pay whatever needs to be paid to solve the problems. And then the action side is obviously what we all look forward to, is to get the sewer out of the rivers and to get the water back in the taps and sort out the electricity. But this is what we need to go to. So the proof would be to really solve the problems. And there's already some of them started in Viljoenskroon. So Nico Palm, that is the champion of this program within the Touching Africa IDS, lives in Viljoenskroon. They already had some success. It is definitely not plain sailing yet, but at least there's a way going forward there. He's busy in Paris, he's busy in Delareyville, he's busy in many of the small Free State, old Ace Magoshule heritage type of towns that left a big scar. So the idea is to really start with the smallest community. I think the one you mentioned was Roosendaal. It's about 150 people living there, but to really get them to take hands with the municipality and let them take action. And I think the moment this concept starts to work, it can spread out towards the rest of the country. I think a big thing is not to make a big, that's the philosophy, is not to make a big fuss about it, because the moment it ends up in the politicians, it becomes contaminated, and the moment it lands up in the press, it also becomes challenging. So the idea is to really be humble, go in there with a servant heart, realize that we don't have an alternative. We're going to work, the politicians won't come up with a solution anytime soon, but then really to take hands and to get the community to do what they're supposed to do, which is active citizenship, which is our calling as sons of God, is to take ownership of our land. And we sort of gave it to government, which definitely didn't have the community's interest at heart. So we have to take it back, and in the same time, I mean, everyone will end up on the same page, hopefully, even the politicians. But and so that's the idea of this, and I think this needs more exploring. I yet have to see a success story of this, but it's a good start. And if we need any more information on the specific program, we can then facilitate such a discussion with the interested parties, with Niku, and see where we can get the ball rolling in wherever it's necessary. To conclude, I think to take note of is the conference that we are planning in September. So it's planned for the 23rd of September, Friday. So make a mental note of it. It would be a privilege to have you here. I know, Jasper, you are invited as well. And anyone interested to partake. The flyer or the invite will be sent anytime soon. So just make sure you register. But trust that will be it will be a revelation, and I think that's what happens when we come together and pave the way forward. So I think that's my Touching Africa introduction. Renee, anything I missed maybe? Jasper, if it's fine with you, it's over back to you then.